Now, in order to revitalize and expand the potential of Nike Lake Resort, the Enugu state government has partnered with Landmark Africa Group, one of Nigeria's leading real estate investment firms. The agreement is a joint venture in which the state government will sell the resort as an asset, and Landmark will spend 10 billion naira in the resort's initial phase, providing management and operational skills. The public and private partnership agreement, according to State Governor Peter Mba, is another step towards the state's goal of reaching $30 billion in economic growth within the next 6 years. CEO of Landmark Africa Group, Paul Onwuanibe, joins me now to discuss this further. Paul, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here on the Global Business Report. Good morning to you. Well, let's begin with the key motivations for Landmark Africa Group's partnership with the Enugu state government on this project. Why is this so exciting for you?
A number of reasons. So one obviously is in the space that we're passionate about and we have real experience in, and which effectively is creating sort of leisure lifestyle destinations. We want to create a whole series of leisure lifestyle destinations along the region, literally along that West African coastline. And we've picked places based on a number of things. Obviously, one is just the environment of the space, the governance around it, and the will and the desire of that city to create a tourist attraction. Two is the numbers and the people. And three is cities that have historic significance and lend themselves to creating a leisure and lifestyle environment. So Enugu falls right into that pot. There's a small emotional reason as well. I went to university in Nigeria in the Enugu campus, and this resort was opened as I was leaving in the 80s. And, you know, I would arguably say that it was probably the best tourism or tourist resort, I would say in Nigeria, probably West Africa at that time.
So it aligns in so many other ways for you as well, and as the group. So the timing is also really great, I would imagine.
Timing is great.
Right.
It's 150 hectares, it's got size, it's got scope, it's got real potential. Well,
talking about potential, let's talk about some of the specific developments planned for the initial phase of this investment.
Okay. So, I don't know how much you know about the development or the resort, but basically it's a 200-room hotel. It has a number of villas, it has a big, nice lake around it, and a lot of land with some sporting facilities and leisure facilities. So the first thing we've got to do is upgrade some of the existing facilities. And that first phase will involve the master planning and the upgrading of some of these facilities. The next phase, which is probably the most important phase, is the creation of sort of the experiences and the adventures that we intend to give to the region. And then the third phase is making it part of a network. So I'm sure later in the discussion we'll talk about why this is so important as a network of things.
As we know, and you alluded to earlier, Enugu is quite the tourist attraction. But when we talk about sensitization, unfortunately, not so many Nigerians are aware of this. So we could allude to the Awum Waterfall, Ngwo Pine Forest. These are, I haven't even been to any of those yet. And I'm sure there's an abundance of that. How do you intend to attract up to 2 million visitors annually to Enugu State with this project?
That's a great question. For those who read Frederick Forsyth's book, Frederick Forsyth basically called Enugu the most beautiful city in the world. And you've given some of the reasons, but it's a lot of it's about the terrain and the people. I think it used to be the capital of the sort of East Central region at the time. So in terms of bringing people, so as a company, our currency is people, is footfall. So we do three things. One is bring as many people to a place as possible. Two is give them amazing experiences and enough things to do. And three is make sure that they have such a great time that they go back and tell other people. So how are we going to bring these 2 million people? We're going to provide experiences, we're going to provide adventure, we're going to provide things for them to do. Excuse me.
That's all right.
We're going to provide big attractions. And it's bit by bit. In Lagos, when we started, it was sort of 200, 300, 400,000 people. By the end of 2023, we were inviting, if you like, or we were servicing 4.5 million people. So we like to believe Enugu has almost 1 million people in population. The state itself has almost 5 million people. The region has 50 million people. And we will create a resort with such a vibe that I think people will come from all over the country and all over the region. And as I said, we're going to connect all our resorts together by air, by sea, and by land. So we'll do it. So
you're going to be looking at, let's say, experiential planned tours and things like that for those that will be visiting and getting the first experience, which will, of course, sell itself then because there's a lot of potential.
No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
But talking about potential, you know, we can't talk about that without looking at employment opportunities. Let's get a little more granular about the scope of this project in relation to employment.
Yeah, so this is one of the things we do, and I'll say there are three key things, and impact is one of them. And when you talk about impact, employment is probably right at the top of the list of impact. In terms of employment, so even in Lagos, we created employment for 4,500 people, right? And you know, in a country that has a dependency rate of 16:1, you imagine what that does in terms of just the accelerator effect. I mean, Enugu, we expect by the time we finish this, we will create employment opportunities of about 4,000 to 5,000 directly, and probably about 4 or 5 times that indirectly, as you can imagine the supply chain. So whether it's things like the water that's drank, the chicken that's cooked, the cups and the spoons, and so the supply chain actually sees, and there's an SME sort of accelerator program, because a lot of SMEs provide services to us. You know, so we don't rent out spaces. And what we effectively do is we bring small businesses to partner with it and provide services on the platform that we create. We don't charge them rents. We take from them effectively sales rent. So it's a top line revenue share. And so we provide the environment, and we try to get the best of each of these businesses, whether it's food and beverage or experience-related businesses or sports-related businesses. They provide the services. We provide the enabling environment. We share in the revenues. They employ as many people as possible.
So certainly this will have a spillover effect into internally generated revenue. Could we speak to some of the projected numbers around that, just hypothetically at this point?
So it's a tough one, but I think you can fairly say, so His Excellency Governor Dr. Peter Mba has gone on record that he's trying to raise that IGR to I think $30 billion. Within this environment, we believe that we'll create at least, you know, I would say, within the supply chain or the value chain, we're probably in the 200 to 300 billion naira IGR impact.
Well, that's quite an attractive one. The potential is key there.
It's huge.
We can see that. But let's look at long-term projects now. How does the dualization of the Enugu, Opi, Nsukka, and correct me if I don't pronounce that correctly, align with this resource development?
Your geography is astonishing.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
So central Enugu and Nsukka, Nike is literally on the way. And that whole road program has actually started. So the dual carriageway is just literally a few kilometers away from the gates of the Nike Lake Resort at the moment. And so the full dualization of that road, it will do a number of things. And Nsukka has a population of almost 1 million people as well. Enugu of 1 million people. So it literally connects all these people together. So in terms of trying to get to those numbers of 2 million people a year visitors, that will provide a good incentive. But most importantly, places like this rely on 3 things. One is access, infrastructure, that's transport, people being able to get in and get out. 2 is beauty, and 3 is security. So those 3 things are incredibly important for a tourism business to survive.
And we're going to have all of those in there, so it's going to be pretty turnkey.
There is a huge commitment to have all those things.
All right, so that's great, very promising there. But let's talk about Landmark Africa Group as an entity in itself.
Yes.
You've done really well, we have to say, over the last few years. A number of years, actually, you've got staying power, but let's talk about your expansion plans. Any on the horizon?
Yes, a lot.
For Africa?
A lot. So West Africa. So a little bit about the history of our organization. We started as a European organization, imported ourselves into Africa. We were in 17 different cities or 17 different locations. And then we sold all that in 2015 and focused in Lagos. Obviously, we all know what happened. Now we've decided to take the best parts of our business, take the experiences that we've had, right, and figure out a way of diversifying. So over the last 8 months, we've looked and done incredible research across West Africa, and we've handpicked 12 different locations that we feel tick all the boxes. To be fair, many of those locations are opportunity-led because they're either governments or platforms that encourage tourism to an extremely high degree. And then they tick all the boxes. So those locations, we've tied up quite a number of them, about I think 4 or 5. And over the next few weeks, we'll be making a few more announcements. So Nike Lake falls right in that and is one of the anchors of that. Obviously, we've announced our Port Harcourt beach show as well. So the whole idea is to create leisure lifestyle locations across this West African region, across the coast, connect them by sea, air, and land. We've already had talks with an airline company that we'll do packages with and have all-inclusive resorts. So the airline company is extremely motivated. They've already talked about bringing 2 new planes in to help connect these things. We've talked with a European cruise company that does Mediterranean cruises. And right now, the only place they stop is in Gambia. We were going to bring that cruise along and stop in a couple of places in Nigeria. So we'll soon have a few announcements on those 2 places that will stop, and we'll bring those people infield. Now, to understand that whole cruise line industry, some of these ships have 3,000 to 5,000 people on board. And the great thing about them is they don't come out and buy clothes and perfumes and things. They buy local things, local foods, local trinkets. So the millions of dollars they bring into the economy is one-way money.
Right, absolutely.
And it creates a lot of employment for those local people.
Yeah.
So that's really what we want to do. We want to create a set of leisure and lifestyle resorts and connect all of them. So whether you have sports tours or music tours or festivals, we can do them all in.
It sounds really exciting, promising, and
shop.
invaluable potential there. I want to wrap up with this. Of course, it's really exciting when we talk about the hospitality and leisure industry. But one area that's pretty much lacks many times, especially within Nigeria, is maintenance culture. Let's talk about the sustainability plans and the long-term plans to ensure that this resort, for instance, is a long-term success. We have a few minutes left, so quite.
So I've been asked this question several times. And the reality about maintenance is that most people maintain their own things, but they don't maintain other people's things. So the first principle of maintenance is to treat it like yours. The second principle is that the more you do now, the less you have to do in future. So as an organization, I'm sure a lot of people have been to different landmark establishments. So maintenance is something that we like to believe we're excellent in, but it's literally part and parcel of what we do. So I can assure you, I can assure the viewers, and certainly the people of Enugu, that the maintenance of this hotel, when we bring it up to the standard, and the resort will be absolutely exceptional.
All right, so we can rest assured it's in good hands and lots to look forward to. A very exciting project indeed. I've been chatting with Paul Onwuanibe, CEO of Landmark Africa Group. Many thanks for joining us on the Global Business Report. We'll see you again very soon.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome.